Good afternoon and welcome from Step Up Live. Today we will hear from Savannah's own Rob from Savannah and from Carver State Bank, and we'll be honing in on how community members can build wealth through banking. We will learn how Carver State Bank helps to create financial freedom for all through equitable banking resources focused on building and improving an individual's financial well-being. Step Up Savannah was established in 2008 as the city's poverty reduction initiative. We act as a convener, collaborator, and capacity builder with the hope to create a community where economic inclusion is the norm, because we believe our community is one where all have hope and opportunity, where we challenge injustice, and where we step up to create a more economically inclusive community. Step Up has several direct service programs. We serve as an intermediary for communities, AmeriCorps Vista program, where we have volunteers placed throughout the city at local nonprofits to help with capacity building. We also have our Chatham Apprentice program, which is our robust workforce development program, and we serve the unemployed and underemployed and help them find jobs and meaningful employment, making livable wages. We facilitate the Neighborhood Leadership Academy, where community leaders increase their skill sets and are empowered to create change in their communities. Many go on to run for office, serve on boards, and start their own nonprofits. We also have our Working Family Network, which is a space for the social safety net provider to share resources, to ask for help, and participate in professional development opportunities. We serve as the intermediary for our public benefits program, where we have 10 agencies that can assist with SNAP, Medicaid, CAPS, WIC, and TANF applications, renewals, and case issues. But last but certainly not least, we also have our Level Up program, which is a financial literacy program where individuals become investigators into their lives, and we assist them in creating bridging and social capital to encourage economic mobility and self-sufficiency. You can learn more about Step Up services on our social media sites, as well as on our website on the page. So it is vital to preface this conversation by talking about asset poverty, which is when an individual has insufficient net worth to cover 3 months of living expenses without income. These assets include durable assets such as savings, a home, a business, and non-cash benefits such as food stamps, medical assistance, and child care subsidies. People living in asset poverty live paycheck to paycheck, which we know is 78% of full-time workers and 56% of millennials. We also know there are a large amount of individuals who are not saving for retirement and planning for emergencies. Now, asset poverty is much different than income poverty or following federal poverty guidelines. If a family's total income is less than a family's threshold expenses, then that family and every individual in it is considered in poverty. The traditional poverty definition uses money income before taxes and does not include capital gains or non-cash benefits, such as your public housing, Medicaid, and food stamps. In these charts here, we can see that asset poverty rate is much higher than the income poverty rate. And in household of color, it is over double. Black populations are also the most affected by asset poverty. Here we zoom in on Savannah, where we have a 36% asset poverty rate. And in households of color, this jumps to 43.5%. Chatham County's asset poverty rate is 30.5. There's 31.3% of individuals who are underbanked and unbanked. 60% of the renters living in Savannah spend 30% or more on their housing costs. And due to benefits cliff, or Medicaid benefits cliffs and preventative policy, 54.7% of those living at or below the 199% federal poverty level are uninsured. Though asset poverty is a huge problem, there is hope for an individual to change their wealth and income over their lifetime and through their generations. This is otherwise known as economic mobility. Economic mobility provides the opportunity for children both in poverty and born in poverty and those, for those that are born in poverty and can change the generational poverty trajectory. This is huge since we know children growing up in Savannah's low wealth communities are projected to make between $16,000 and $23,000 by the time they are 35. When we look at economic mobility, we are measuring some of the primary indicators and hindrances to the low wealth community. Step Up is devoted to diving into how someone's income changes over time and how prepared they are for emergencies such as a pandemic. It's part of our mission to convene and collaborate partners and advocate to ensure equitable services and policy. Through research, we know that to change a person's trajectory out of poverty, you not only need to promote economic mobility, but you also need to change other dimensions of poverty that include power and agency, and access to resources that do not have income or federal poverty limits. And we know some of the primary predictors when looking at an individual's ability to change is education, location, and criminal background. Though 31% of our community is unbanked or underbanked, we know that it is vital to have a thriving banking relationship and to achieve economic mobility and self-sufficiency, which is why we are here today, where we will discuss financial freedom through banking relationships. Our guest, Carver State Bank, is a community development financial institution and focused on building up an equitable and thriving community. For generations, community development financial institutions such as Carver State Bank have provided credit, capital, and financial services to low and moderate income people in minority communities that have historically been underserved or outright ignored by the financial services industry. Today, we will discuss the vitality of banking relationships for wealth building and the resources that Carver State Bank has as the community development financial institution. It is my pleasure to introduce today's subject matter expert, Mr. Rob James II. Rob leverages his experiences in banking, law, real estate development, and consulting to provide the building blocks to financial freedom at Black-owned Carver Financial, the holding company of Carver State Bank in Savannah, Georgia. Under Rob's leadership, Carver has more than doubled its equity capital in the past year, won $80 million in new markets tax credits from the U.S. Treasury, since 2017, the first ever in Georgia for a community bank or entity outside of Atlanta, and created hundreds of jobs in distressed communities across the state. Robert also led the first ever all-Black bank syndicate to finance a project for a major American sports franchise, the 2021 refinancing of the Atlanta Hawks practice facility. Robert is chairman of the National Bankers Association, the voice of the nation's minority banks. He is also a member of the boards of the Community Development Bankers Association, the National Bank Foundation, chairs the National Bankers Community Alliance, and serves as executive director of Carver's nonprofit CDFI affiliate, Catalyst Development Corporation. In January of 2022, he was appointed to a 2-year term on the FDIC's Advisory Committee on Community Banking and a 3-year term on the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's Community Depository Institutions Advisory Council. He's a 1995 graduate of Harvard Law School and 1992 Howard University grad. Rob is father of one teenage daughter, a member of the Alpha Lambda Boule of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity and Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Enjoys cooking and travel. Welcome, Rob.
Thanks, Kim. It's such a pleasure to be here today and join Step Up Savannah for this really important presentation. And we just want to thank Step Up for the opportunity to talk about Carver and our work in the community and what makes us unique as an institution that is really in Savannah, of Savannah, and for Savannah. Carver is, as you mentioned, Kim, is a mission-driven institution, and that mission and that vision drive everything that we do. Our institution has a vision, which is financial freedom for all, and our mission, the things that we do every day, is to provide the building blocks to financial freedom. And so what does that mean? Those are flowery words, but what does that mean? We have really tried to implement this mission and vision into our actual business plan and practices. Our business plan is built around our vision and mission, and it's comprised of what we call the 4 building blocks of financial freedom. Build money, which is to make money work for you. Build homes, promoting home ownership. Build businesses, boosting entrepreneurship, and building community development projects that we engage in all across Savannah and the state. Talk a little bit about history. Carver has a rich and textured history of serving the underserved. We're celebrating our 95th year this year. We were founded in Savannah by Lewis B. Toomer, who was the first Black man with a real estate brokerage license in the state of Georgia, who served under President Eisenhower as Register of the US Treasury. He had Toomer Realty Company. He also founded Georgia Savings and Realty, which ended up becoming Carver State Bank. The second president of Carver was Mr. Lawrence D. Perry, who assumed the mantle in 1961. And in 1971, Robert James, my father, became the president of the bank and continues to serve in that role today, making him the longest serving African-American bank president in the country at 50 years and counting. We became a CDFI in the year 2000, and our mission has carried on since then. I want to talk a little bit about our leadership. First, in the person of my father, Robert James Sr., our chairman of our board, as well as the CEO of Carver State Bank. Again, he served in that role since 1971. He's a 2-time chair of the National Bankers Association. He's the immediate past chairman of the St. Joseph's Candler Health System in Savannah. He's a former chairman of Savannah Economic Development Authority, as well as a former chairman of Step Up Savannah. We're really proud to have such consistent leadership, and that's one of the reasons why Carver has been so committed to the community for so long, is because we've had very consistent, focused, and directed leadership all throughout the last 50 years. There's some information about me. You won't spend too much time on that. Kim kind of gave you my background, but I'm very proud to be President and CEO of Carver Financial Corporation, our holding company, and have an opportunity to kind of carry on the legacy of my family and serve our community in new and different ways across the state. So why is banking important? I want to talk a little bit about some basic things. Kim talked about the high rate of unbanked and underbanked individuals in Savannah and Chatham County in particular, but it's really a challenge across the country. And banks like Savannah, like Carver, really try to address this issue in a number of ways. The first step to building a solid foundation for your financial life is to have a bank account. Your money is safe. During the Great Depression, many people lost money that was deposited in banks that were uninsured. And the federal government created the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation to make sure that your money is safe. That when you deposit money in a bank, up to $250,000 is insured by the federal government. And all banks that are licensed institutions in the United States have to pay an insurance premium to the federal government, to the FDIC, in order to cover this insurance. And so that's to make sure that your money is safe while you have it in the bank. You can transfer money to your family and friends with ease. Your money is protected against errors and fraud because there's certain federal laws that protect you. You can have proof of payment. So whenever you purchase something through that account, you have proof that you paid. You get your money faster with no check cashing fees. When you direct deposit your money into a bank account, you get access sooner than with a paper check, and you also save money from very expensive check cashing fees. You can keep an eye on your money. You get monthly statements, and now with technology, you have online banking where you can check your use your mobile app or use our online banking to check the status of your account, on a pretty much minute by minute basis. You have access to other products from the bank, which is how we build wealth in America. So once you've established a relationship with a bank, you can start looking at other financial products like credit cards or auto loans and home mortgages. You can pay your bills through electronic banking. You can set up useful alerts through mobile banking. So there's a lot of different features that you can use to help you protect and manage your money better, but it all starts with having a bank account. So there's a few different basic types of accounts. Checking accounts, that's what most people are most familiar with and what gets used on a daily basis. That's a deposit account where you store your money and you can write checks, or more commonly used today, access that money via electronic debits or automatic teller machines or ATMs. When you have your money in a checking account, it typically does not earn interest because it's a transactional account where you've got money flowing in and out to receive your payments, receive payroll, and then also to make payments out for bills and other necessary expenses. There's savings accounts. So that allows you to deposit money that you store away, and that type of account does allow you to earn interest. Typically, it's not as easily as accessible as the money that you have with a checking account. And that's to help you to start accumulating some cash, accumulating some wealth. And then there's money market accounts and certificates of deposit, or CDs. And these are special types of savings accounts where you invest a certain amount of money in the bank, and then you can make money off of your investment. Money market accounts are more liquid than CDs, which typically have a particular time horizon. Whether if you buy a CD, you might buy it for 90 days or 120 days, or even as long as 4 or 5 years. These kinds of accounts typically require a higher minimum deposit in order to open them. So what are the benefits of using a community bank rather than one of the big giant banks? Community banks like Carver focus on the community's interests rather than trying to meet shareholder interests through the capital markets. We're not looking to chase quarterly reports in terms of Wall Street. We're looking to make sure that we're really investing in our community in a very sound way. So we have personalized service. We get to know our customers. Our bank, as we talked about, is managed by people who have been in the community for over 50 years, who really know the community. We have bank employees who have been, at our bank for over 20 years, who really, really know the community. You can develop relationships with your banker. We typically have lower fees, and we make local investments in the community And I will talk a little bit more about that. But Carver is very, very local in terms of how we invest money, focusing on loans to those who are in our community and those who are working to help uplift our community. And then finally, we have a very, very keen commitment to community service. So we give back to our community through our volunteer work, our outreach, our just one-on-one coaching. There's a lot of work and effort that goes into being a community bank and being really accessible to people. But that doesn't mean that we don't want to partner with some of the large institutions to make our services and products more accessible. So one of the things that we've done in the past couple of years is we've partnered with other banks and institutions to extend our ATM network. We're a small bank, so we only have about 3 ATMs that belong to Carver. There's one at our location on Skidaway Road. There's one at our location downtown, our headquarters on Martin Luther King. And then we have a machine at the airport. But we really wanted to make sure that Carver customers have access to surcharge-free ATMs across the country and across the region. So we have partnered with MoneyPass, which is a network of free ATMs, totally free to our customers. There are thousands of them across the country. You can access them once you become a Carver customer. You can access them and look at the locations of those through our website, through our mobile app. But then we also have arrangements with Wells Fargo, Regions Bank, and Chase Bank, where you can use their ATM machines without paying any fee to those institutions. We're working on modifying our fee structure so that we don't charge our customers any fees for using those ATMs. But right now, Wells, Regions, and Chase don't charge our customers anything to use those ATMs, which really gives you an incredibly broad network of low-cost ATMs across the country. Carver offers very convenient online and mobile banking. We're really proud that about a year ago, we did a total overhaul of our website, making it much more user-friendly, providing a lot more information about our bank and what we do, but also giving access to online banking right up front. So you can, again, once you become a Carver customer, you have access to your information 24/7, where you can log into your account, pay your bills online, and do all the things that you need to do to move money between accounts at Carver. So if you have savings and checking or savings and money market and checking, you can move money between those accounts. And so we think that's really super convenient for our customers, and we want to make sure that we're continuing to build improvements even to those systems and services. We also recently launched our own mobile app, a branded mobile app, where you can do nearly everything you can do on our online banking, you can do with your smartphone. So wherever you are, as long as you have access to your internet network with your smartphone, you can conduct transactions, you can pay your bills, you can check your balances, and really have access to your money and control it in the palm of your hand. So we're really proud that at Carver that we're not just like every other bank, because most banks have online banking or mobile banking, offer savings and checking and money market accounts. But Carver really offers services that are specifically targeted to underserved communities. So we offer second chance checking accounts. Second chance and first time accounts that are available to individuals who weren't successful with bank accounts in the past, but who deserve a chance to effectively manage a new account. Sometimes in life situations can happen that will force people to overdraw their accounts, and banks will close those accounts, and you get put into a system it's almost like a credit reporting system called check systems, where the banks check, and if you get flagged in that system, it's really hard for you to open up a checking account. Carver gives a second chance. And we have a number of our customers who ran into life situations, who had trouble with opening up accounts and managing those accounts, and we'll allow them to open an account at Carver so that they can get themselves back on the right track. Another thing that we offer is a credit builder loan product, which is a loan to help you repair credit, or if you don't even have credit, to build credit. It's a small dollar loan that if you can perform well using that loan, it will help you to establish or repair your credit with the major credit reporting bureaus, because we're going to report your success out to those bureaus to help you build, establish, or improve on your credit score. So I mentioned up top that Carver is a mission-driven financial institution. So what does that mean? I talked about our mission, which is to provide the building blocks to financial freedom. And we have a pretty unique structure among institutions. Kim mentioned in her introduction that Carver State Bank, Carver Financial Corporation, is a certified CDFI, a community development financial institution. Now, that's a lot of words to describe something that is a really important distinction that separates Carver from other banks in the Savannah market, but all across the country. There's about a little less than 5,000 banks in the United States. There's only about 150 of those banks that are certified community development financial institutions. That is a designation that is given to us by the United States Treasury Department. And it's a very extensive process that we've had to go through to apply to become certified. We became certified around the year 2000 and have maintained that certification for the last 22 years. And what does it mean to be a CDFI? It means that we have a mission to serve an underserved target market. It means that we are accountable to that target market, which means that our governance represents the people who are in the target market. So it represents that local community that we've identified in terms of our management, our governance, and that's done through our governing board. So our board of directors is directly accountable to the community. We have to perform over 60% of our lending every year, both in the total number of loans as well as the dollar amount of our lending has to go back into the community we've identified. So we have to certify that annually. And then finally, we also have to provide development services or technical assistance. So a lot of that community outreach, those things that we do that are above and beyond, such as showing up for this presentation today, are development services and technical assistance and outreach that we do in the community, again, to provide financial education, but also additional support. But Carver is not just the bank that you may see on the corner of MLK and Gwinnett Street or out on Skidaway. We're more than that. We're Carver Financial Corporation, which encompasses now not just Carver State Bank, but also Al-America Bank, which is a bank in Birmingham, Alabama that we just acquired this past year. We also own Carver Development CDE, which is our New Markets Tax Credit arm, which performs very high impact economic development projects across the state. And then we also have a nonprofit affiliate, which is also a certified CDFI on its own, which is called Catalyst Development Corporation, which provides small business loans and technical assistance in the Savannah and Atlanta markets. We're really trying to bring all these different tools and structures to the table to help eliminate the racial wealth gap in America. Carver is Black-owned. We're proud to be Black-owned. We're one of only 18 Black-owned banks in the United States. And it's important that we celebrate that we lean into that, and that we refocus all of our resources back into the community that helped to birth us. I talked a little bit about what is a CDFI, but here's just a little bit more information about that. Again, CDFI certification is the Department of Treasury at the United States government's recognition of specialized financial services institutions like Carver that serve low-income communities. And they can take several forms. So like I mentioned, there's about 150 banks that are certified CDFIs. But there are also some credit unions across the country that are certified, as well as loan funds, which are nonprofits that make loans to small businesses or individuals that are outside of the traditional banking system. And then there's also venture capital funds that make investments into small businesses that have high growth opportunities. And any of those types of companies can become certified CDFIs. Many certified CDFIs like Carver offer loans that are more favorable and flexible than traditional lenders. But again, according to that mission, we also have to provide educational services and development services to our customers. And so again, across our company, whether it's at the holding company level, the bank level at Carver, or at our nonprofit affiliate, we are certified as a CDFI across all of those different platforms. And we also plan to make the bank in Alabama a certified CDFI next year. I mentioned a few things that make us unique, but here are just a few statistics that show that Carver is really one of one. There's no other institution in the United States that's like us. We're one of only 18 Black-owned banks in the United States. Now think about that. That's out of almost 5,000 banks. So less than 1% of all banks are owned by Black people, and Savannah is privileged to have one. We're one of only 2 Black-owned banks that are headquartered in the state of Georgia. The other is in Metro Atlanta. We're one of only 5 CDFI certified banks in the entire state. There's only 2 locally owned full service banks in Savannah. There's a lot of banks in Savannah, but there's only 2 of them that are locally owned and full service. And Carver is one of those 2, and we're the oldest of those institutions. Let's look at what we actually do, our lending. In 2020, Carver loaned more than $5.4 million into high poverty areas, which was 62% of the bank's loans by volume and 48% of our loans by dollar amount. So we put our money where our mouth is. In 19 and 20, we made 99% of our loans to either minority borrowers, low to moderate income individuals, or low to moderate income community serving organizations like nonprofits that really reach it back into the community to help serve. Our customers, who are our customers? Carver is open to anyone. Anyone in Savannah can come and open an account, and we welcome any customer. But our customer base is overwhelmingly African-American. 92% of our customers are African-American. 40% of those customers identify as female heads of household. 48% of our customers are low to moderate income, and 30% of our customers before they came to our bank were unbanked, so they did not have a bank account. And that really sort of ties back to the statistic that Kim read earlier about Chatham County. So roughly the same percentage of our customer base was unbanked before they came to Carver, as you see unbanked in the whole community. So we really are making an effort to reach out to that unbanked population in Chatham County. As we mentioned, we're very local. The vast majority of our lending goes to local small businesses. 92% of our loans are made within the state of Georgia, and 78% of our loans are made, right in our neighborhood, Chatham, Bryan, and Liberty counties. We lend to local small businesses. Our small business loans make up 62% of our overall lending. Commercial real estate is 19%. Affordable housing, which is a critical part of our portfolio, is 16% of our lending. And then a small slice of that is other. But we really emphasize local small business lending, and that's really a sweet spot for our bank. And it's also a huge way that we can help create wealth in the community. Why is all of that important? Kim really laid it out in terms of the asset poverty in our local community, but let's kind of look a little bit more broadly nationally. Kim's statistics showed that asset poverty in our community is overwhelmingly African-American. If you look at the United States in general, there's still a very persistent racial wealth gap between African-American families and white families. Historically, just for a moment, I'll talk about this. In 1865, when slavery ended and the slaves were freed by the Emancipation Proclamation, the racial wealth gap was about 60 to 1. In other words, the average white family was worth about 60 times more than the average Black family. Now that was when 15% of all of America's wealth was tied up in the bodies of Black people. And when the vast majority of Black people who were freed slaves had nothing. In just about 60 years, that gap had gone from 60 to 1 to 10 to 1. But then since the 1920s, when Carver was founded, all the way to today, so almost 100 years later, we've really not narrowed the gap very much. It's now between 7 and 8 to 1. So there are some persistent things and systemic things in the American economy that make it difficult for us to close that gap. Now, why is that important? It's important to African Americans, but it's actually important to everybody, because closing the wealth gap would lift the entire economy. We're all concerned about the US economy. One of the biggest ways we could address economic growth in the United States would be to close the racial wealth gap. Citi did a study that was published in September of 2020 that said that if key racial wealth gaps for African Americans in wages, housing, education, and investments are closed today, $5 trillion would be added to the US gross domestic product over the next 5 years. $5 trillion is an almost unimaginable amount of money, but it would lift everyone, not just African Americans, because that would be more money in our economy, more people working, more people thriving, more people buying homes, more people buying cars, more people able to invest in their kids and their education. It would mean an enormous amount to the entire economy to close this gap. And so that's why the work that Carver and institutions like us do is so important. As I mentioned earlier, Carver's very unique in our structure, and that allows us to make a big community impact. We have a nonprofit affiliate called Catalyst Development Corporation. It's a new nonprofit which we created back in 2016. It received its nonprofit status from the IRS in 2017. We've raised over $300,000 in grants to date, and we were granted our CDFI certification last February. You can visit our website at catalyst4people.org. That's catalyst, the number 4people.org, to learn more about the organization. But what it does is it provides microloans to small businesses. It also provides technical assistance to small businesses. It really allows Carver to have a way to reach even deeper into the community, to do things that are difficult for us to do in the regulated bank. Banking is a highly regulated industry by the federal government, as I mentioned earlier, and that's because we want to keep your money safe and sound. And so Catalyst allows us to do things that Carver cannot do, but it can also, Catalyst can work hand in hand with Carver to make it easier for us to make loans to small businesses, to get capital back into the community that needs it, to help people create jobs, create wealth for their families. And so Catalyst is a really important tool in our toolkit as we continue to extend on our mission to provide financial freedom for all. I want to talk just for a few minutes about the Federal New Markets Tax Credits Program, which is another innovative program that Carver uses in order to really help to drive wealth creation in low-income communities, not just in Savannah, but also across the state of Georgia. The New Markets Tax Credit is a federal tax credit, and it's given to large equity investors that invest money in projects in low-income communities that are going to help create jobs, or bring healthcare, or bring critical services, bring community facilities. It's really designed to move private money into low-income communities in a way that wouldn't be possible without this tax credit. And so these are big projects that really can help transform communities. Carver has been very fortunate through our CDE, or Community Development Entity, that we've been able to win a couple of different awards of these tax credits. We've won over $80 million in these credits since 2017. Now, that's not actual cash money that comes to Carver, but what it does is it allows us to attract that much money if we win an $80 million award, it allows us to attract that money from outside investors that gets invested back into low-income community projects, like I said, that do things like create jobs and bring healthcare and other and other critical services. I'll show you a few examples of some of the kinds of projects that we've done. So we've worked across the state of Georgia to fund community services and job creation. Just a couple of examples. In Donaldsonville, Georgia, which is in rural Southwest Georgia, we're helping to finance the construction and equipping of a new peanut shelling and ingredient plant. It's a plant that's owned by local farmers, and they're providing their peanuts and able to process those peanuts and get them into production for peanut butter and other products. It's really helping to drive wealth creation with those small farmers in that community. It's also created 91 new high-paying jobs in that community, as well as helping them to retain 67 jobs. Another example is the Hub, which is a project in Augusta, Georgia, where we're helping to finance the construction of 2 multi-purpose community centers that are going to serve a variety of needs. Primary health care, 10,000 patients will be served per year. The Boys and Girls Club of Augusta is going to have their administrative headquarters, and they're going to do youth programming there, serving almost 5,000 youth per year. They're providing adult literacy at this facility, and it's 53 total jobs, again, around community service. In Screven County, Georgia, we helped to finance the construction and equipping of an industrial chicken processing facility that provided 225 new high-paying jobs that were over the local median income level. We went to Tifton, Georgia, and financed the construction and equipping of a large beverage warehouse and distribution center for Coca-Cola United. 100 new jobs, 140 retained jobs. We also worked in healthcare, both in the Atlanta area. We've helped to finance Oakhurst Medical Center, which serves 25,000 unique patients every year, 75% of whom are low income, creating 22 new jobs. The Grady Hospital, we're helping to finance the construction of a new 225,000 square foot Center for Advanced Surgical Services in Atlanta, which is going to serve almost 65,000 patients, 82% of whom are low income, and creating 211 jobs. And these are the kinds of projects that Carver can do because we're so flexible and because we are, constantly looking for the tools and resources to help drive, change in our community and help to eliminate this racial wealth gap. Just a little bit about our new markets impact. Our 2018 allocation was $30 million. Our 2020 allocation was $50 million. We've gotten about $63 million of that allocation deployed, done 12 different transactions in small business, manufacturing, healthcare, community facilities, and created 842 new jobs through that program. And those are good, high-paying jobs that exceed the living wage for those communities, again, helping families to create and preserve wealth. So our goal, again, is to build our impact. As I mentioned earlier, in 2019 and 2020, on average, nearly 99% of Carver's lending went to either minority borrowers, low to moderate income individuals, or low to moderate income community serving organizations. We have a very aggressive goal that by 2025, we're going to originate at least $140 million in new deep impact lending, and that we're going to achieve $1.2 billion in originations of new deep impact loans across the state of Georgia and now into Alabama over the next 10 years. And when I say deep impact, I mean loans to small businesses, to low and moderate income individuals, or LMI community serving organizations. In other words, we want to really grow and double down on what Carver does, which is to provide the building blocks to financial freedom. So I want to thank you again to Step Up Savannah. Kim, we really appreciate you and the entire organization making us the feature this month for this incredible opportunity to share with the community, and certainly invite people to visit us at either our location on Martin Luther King, 701 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, or at our location on Skidaway, 7110 Skidaway Road. Come in, meet the people, open up an account, and learn more about how Carver can help you to start your wealth building journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob. That was an excellent presentation. And I think it has something for everybody to learn. So we're going to transition now to questions. And so, Rachel, are there any questions in the chat? If you have questions, you can drop them either in the chat or in the Q&A, and we'll answer them at this time. If you're watching online on Facebook, then we would love for you to drop it in the comments there, and we'll give a few seconds or a minute or so for those questions. But again, Rob, thank you so much. And I'll start out. If there is one takeaway from this presentation that you would want, and let's I guess one takeaway for each entity. So like the nonprofit, the employer, the client, what would that be? And you can give 3 different answers.
Thanks for the question, Kim. I think the biggest takeaway is, Carver is really poised to be your relationship bank. And that's true for individuals, that's true for the nonprofit entities, that's true for small business. And so why would you want to bank with Carver? It's just to be frank, it's a pain to change banks. If you're not already a Carver customer and you're banking someplace else, it's a pain to change. Because you've got payroll systems set up. There's all kinds of reasons why it's hard for people to change. The reason why you should consider changing to Carver and making us your main bank is that our resources get reinvested in the community that you care about. I just walked you through all the stats. I walked you through all the numbers. We're focused on that. So if you have your account at a big national player, big national bank, well, how much are they really reinvesting back in Savannah, in Chatham County, and in the state of Georgia and the state of Alabama, places that you care about? And then if they're investing in those places, are they investing in the high income places in those states and communities? Or are they investing in the low income areas? And because you got to think about what your money does every night when it's sleeping, right? Whether you got $500 in your account or 5 million, the money is being used. And what's it being used for? Is it being reinvested to help reduce the racial wealth gap, to help create small businesses, to help create jobs? Or is it going to be used by all the people who already have money? And I think that's really the key takeaway that I would say for everyone who's listening today. For those individuals, Carver does that work that is hard for the big banks to do, because we give people a second chance. We work with you. We're a very high touch institution. One of the things that we're working on strategically is becoming a really high tech institution, but still maintaining that high touch. And so really having both worlds. And so those are the reasons why I would move. And that's what I would consider is really, let your money speak your own values, and how you bank is a comment on your values. Where you put your money is where your heart is. And if your heart is in our community, then you should consider banking at Carver State Bank.
That's so good. And in an economy, coming out of the pandemic and stuff where, small business is struggling, individuals are struggling, to hear that this money is going back into the community that we love, our beloved Savannah. And so I think that's great, a great point. And I love to hear that you guys are investing in the small businesses. You're helping people build their credit. So if your credit is is low, like that's something that we really look at here at Step Up, and we teach about how to build credit and that sort of thing. And so I love that there's like a second chance at building credit, and for y'all to come side by side individuals. And so thank you so much for all of this information and the data and the excellent articulation of your services. And so and just thank you for your time too. This has been wonderful. I don't see any comments in the chat, and I don't see any Q&A, but so I'm going to say that there aren't any, which is most likely a good thing, because you did great. And so we'll just go ahead and end the presentation with, remember that you can look at us, Step Up Savannah, on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on our website. We'll also have this video reposted so that if you missed it, you can go back and watch it. Or if you know somebody that it may benefit, then you can go back and watch that as well. And then, of course, we would like to thank our partners. And one of those is Carver State Bank, and we're so thankful for your collaboration and partnership. So that concludes our presentation today. Thank you to all of you who joined, and we'll see you next time on Step Up Live.